All right. Happy Sunday. I am Mama Safana of Mama Safana's Buttercream Dreams on Facebook and the Chef and the Baker RVA on YouTube. And today I'm making a cake from the White Lily Cookbook, relaunch of their iconic cookbook, and they have asked me to make a cake out of here. A good white cake recipe can be a blank canvas for so many other desserts that it's important to have a good white cake recipe in your arsenal for, especially for summer desserts. But we're going to make it today. White Lily has a perfect white cake recipe, and we're going to make it today, and it is called the White Lily cake. So let's get started. So you can make this recipe in 2 9-inch cake pans, or you can do 3 8-inch cake pans. I'm going to do 3 8-inch cake pans. And the first thing we're going to do is grease and flour our cake pans, okay? Now, a lot of people do use baking sprays, but I'm going to grease and flour these cake pans because that is what is suggested in the recipe. So let's do that. Okay, so using softened butter, I have buttered all of my pans. Now I want to flour them with the same White Lily flour that I am going to bake the cake with. We're going to flour our pans. All right. Now I get the excess all the way out, so there's no flour on my cake. So let me go ahead. I want to tap this some more. Get the sides good. All right. Last one. And then, now that that's done, we're going to set these to the side and we're going to get ready to make this cake. For this cake, you're going to need 4 large room temperature eggs, but we only want to use the whites. So I'm going to separate my eggs. A good white cake recipe can be, like I said before, the blank canvas for so many other desserts. You can use it to add fruit fillings or fresh fruit. So here's our last egg. We're going to set these yolks to the side because we only need, almost lost that one. We only need the whites. So 4 egg whites from 4 large eggs in our mixing bowl. We refer to our recipe. Next, we want 2½ cups of White Lily all-purpose flour. 2½ cups of White Lily all-purpose flour. Be careful with how you measure out your flour. Also, let me just say, I have a lot of people that ask me, these White Lily stickers, people think that I bought the container like this. I bought the containers, but you can get the stickers for your containers from White Lily Baking's website, okay? So different website from the cookbook. So we want to fluff up our flour. We do not want to pack this flour in because we want our cake to remain a light and fluffy cake. So being careful not to overload our measuring cups. That's 1 cup. The recipe did not say that you needed to sift this flour. Let me just say that. So I'm not sifting it. So that's 2 cups, and we need a 1/2 cup. So 2½ cups all-purpose flour, not the self-rising. 1.5 cups of white granulated sugar, and we're going to add that directly to the flour in our mixing bowl. So 1.5 cups of white granulated sugar. We're going to put this on our mixer. And to this we're going to add our baking powder, our salt, and our baking soda. And so I have here 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to add that in like that. And then the recipe says to mix this with the whisk attachment. It does say that. So that's what we're going to do. And you're going to mix this till it's all nice and combined. While that's mixing, this is going to require some shortening, right? And it's 3/4 cups of all vegetable shortening for this cake. I am not using the butter flavor one because I want to keep it. So I'm going to cut. It tells me where 3/4 cup is right on the stick. And these are shortening sticks, so I'm going to cut right there. And then I want to add this to my flour in cubes. And as you know, because this sits at room temperature, it's already room temperature, so we're just going to add it in the flour in cubes. And I just want to reiterate that I am using Crisco all vegetable shortening. I'm not using the butter flavor because I want to keep the cake white. All right, that's all of that. I have 1 cup of room temperature buttermilk. Let me see. I add the room temperature buttermilk, 1 cup of room temperature buttermilk, and then we're going to turn this up to a medium-low speed and beat for exactly 2 minutes. So let me go ahead and add that. That's 1 cup of room temperature buttermilk. Now I'm going to cut this up. And that's on speed 4. We're going to let that beat for 2 minutes, then we're going to come back. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. We're going to scrape our beater, our whisk here, as well as our bowl. Scrape everything down. We want to add to this our 4 egg whites. Excuse me. We're going to add to this our 4 egg whites, but we're going to also add our extracts. Now, the book tells you that you can use 2 teaspoons of whatever, basically whatever extract you want. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. You could do almond extract. You could do lemon extract. You could do lemon and vanilla, or lemon and almond, or whatever, or almond and vanilla, you know, anything. But what I'm going to do today is I have some clear vanilla extract. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of this, of the clear vanilla extract, because I am really trying to keep this a white cake, because I just think it's so pretty. I think it's just so pretty. Don't get me wrong, I am a yellow cake with chocolate frosting fan, but sometimes you just want just a simple white cake. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of clear vanilla. All right, in there. And then I have some cake batter flavor that's clear. Now, most cake batter flavor that you buy is actually white. This is actually white. Most cake batter flavor that you buy is yellow, but this one I have is a white one, so we're going to use that. just to help it out a little bit. On a low speed, I'm going to add my egg whites. Once I add my egg whites, we're going to mix this again for another 2 minutes on a medium low speed, scraping as you need. You want to scrape as you need. So let's go ahead and add this 4 egg whites. I'm trying to let them mix in before I add. I'm going to scrape the bowl. Scraping your bowl will help stuff incorporate better as you go without overwork. I'm folding in my whites. I got some more. So I got those in. So now I'm going to put it on the medium low speed, and we're going to let that mix for another 2 minutes, and I'll be back. I just came back on because we are still in the 2 minute mark of mixing, but I just want to show you that halfway through I am going in with my spatula and scraping down the bowl, and then I'm going to turn it back on and let it continue for the remainder of the 2 minutes. Okay, our cake is done mixing. That was easy. I'm gonna just give my batter here an additional mix. It's beautiful, beautiful batter. And we're gonna divide this batter up into our 3 pans that we've already greased and floured. I do want to mention that in the cookbook, it does mention to actually line your pan with parchment paper, but I forgot to do that. I have a half a cup here, and I want to divide my batter into my pans. Try to get it in here evenly as possible. So while I am dividing my batter up, so I want to recap the recipe as 2½ cups of white lily all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 cup of whole buttermilk, room temperature, 3/4 of a cup of all vegetables shortening cubed, 4 large egg whites, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. In a preheated 350-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll be back. Okay, so our cakes are in the oven. While our cakes are baking, we want to go ahead and make our buttercream icing. Okay, and so this is called white buttercream icing. It also is a recipe that goes with the cake, our white lily cake. So the recipe is in the book, and it is calling for 2 cups of softened butter. This is unsalted butter. And I'm using Kerrygold, but you can use any butter. Any softened butter will do. And that is 2 cups or 1 pound, however you want to look at it, to your bowl with our paddle attachment this time. So the bowl is fitted with our paddle attachment. I'm going to go ahead and give the butter a head start, but the recipe does not say to do this, so we'll go ahead and give that a head start. So I gave my butter a little bit of a head start, and the next thing you want to add to your 1 pound of butter is 2 pounds of powdered sugar. I'm going to do it half at a time. I'm going to put half this bag in. I'm going to let that incorporate, and then I'm going to put the other half in. On a low speed, we're going to let this incorporate. And so now we're going to put the other half in. Scrape my paddle attachment down. I'm going to scrape the bowl again, but we're going to let this incorporate on a low speed. I'm stopping it because it's very full right now, so I just want to get it incorporated. And once you you get this fully incorporated, the direction says to let this be, let me see, on a low speed for 3 minutes, and then we'll come back. So we're gonna let this go for 3 minutes, and then we'll be back. So it's been about 3 minutes, and it's still quite thick, but we have to add to this a half a cup of heavy cream and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I got a half a cup of heavy cream here, and to that I'm going to add a teaspoon of my clear vanilla extract right to the cream. And we're going to slowly drizzle this in here, and then we're going to let it beat for another 3 minutes, and then we'll be back. Matter of fact, I'll do it now before. But it's going to turn light and fluffy here. You just gotta trust the process. Right. So I'm going to let this go for another 3 minutes, then we'll be back. We also want to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So our icing, our buttercream frosting is finished. We're going to transfer this to a separate container and keep it covered. Our cakes will be out the oven shortly, and then when our cakes are cool, we're going to ice and decorate and put the whole thing together. So our white cakes are out of the oven. They are beautiful. We are going to allow them to cool in the pan for 10 minutes. Then you're going to flip them out on a wire rack and let them cool completely, and then we're going to ice and decorate them. As for you, I'm going to take some of this icing and put down. Now off camera I did go ahead and make me some extra icing just because I want to make sure that I had enough. Layer down of this beautiful white cake. Now mind you, like I said, I did make extra icing, so if it looks like I'm using more, it's because I got more to use. But the amount of icing that it make is perfect. You don't have to use you don't have to make extra icing if you don't want to. I'm just extra. That's just me. So I'm gonna put my next layer down, and this is looking good already. Make sure the layers are lined up and even. All right, and we're gonna put some more icing in between. And this icing is delicious, y'all. Delicious. And like I said, this white cake can be a blank canvas for any kind of cake. There's so many things that you can do with this, as well as just enjoy it as is. All right, so now we're gonna put some icing on the top. A nice dollop of icing on the top, and you're gonna smooth this out all the way over to the edge. You want it to hang off the edge a little bit so that you can bring it all together with the sides. And having an offset spatula really helps with this process. And I'm just smoothing the top. Now I'm gonna grab some frosting with my offset spatula and begin to apply it to the sides of the cake. And it's really just that simple. You want to just kind of push it into the sides of the cake and then spread. Push and spread. That's it. And now getting it on there. So another thing that helps with this is having a bench scraper handy. I don't know why I can't talk today. Y'all forgive me. But a bench scraper will help smooth the sides and bring everything together. All right. And I'm just gonna clean up my cake plate here just a little bit. Level off the top, just a little bit. All right. So now, if you've ever watched me decorate a cake before, you know I have this little thing that I like to do when I want a nice little homemade look, which is just taking my spatula. And you can also do this with a spoon. You can do this with the back of a spoon, but I'm so used to using my offset spatula to make the ridges and just give you a nice little homemade look to your cake. That's simple. And I'll take it all the way up to the top. Having a turntable really helps with that, okay? Let me just say that. But you could figure out how to do it without a turntable as well. But it already is looking divine. I can't wait to cut this cake. This is so delicious. We're gonna add some truffles to the top of this, okay? So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got a piping bag here. All right, little piping bag, and I got me a tip here. And this is I think this is a Teco. Yeah, this is a Teco tip number 869. It's a large star tip is what it is. A really large star tip. I put it in my piping bag and I'm gonna cut it. And if y'all can't tell, I'm having so much fun. This is like my favorite part. This is my favorite part. When I get to this and then I can get to do, I'm not gonna do much. I'm not an elaborate cake decorator, but I think sometimes the simplest things that you can do to a cake can bring a cake to life. And it don't take much. Don't take no special skills or nothing. So I'm gonna start just making what we call rosettes, right? Just something simple. Like I said, it just brings the cake to life. How you can take the simplest cake and turn it into a celebration cake. And I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw them selling these white truffles just right there at the register. And I immediately thought, I'm gonna put these on the cake. I can put these on my cake and just really bring it to life, huh? Simple, and it don't even take a whole lot of skill. It is something anybody can do. I can't even tell you how many times I've had like women, like young girls in my office say, Miss Safana, can you make my baby a birthday cake? And I am so me. I'm so Mama Safana. The first thing I say is, girl, you can make it. Because I honestly just believe that anybody can do it. And I honestly believe birthday cakes don't have to be perfect to be special. That's the other thing. Birthday cakes do not have to be special. Do not have to be perfect to be special. Let me get my other truffles. Birthday cakes do not have to be perfect to be special. Or any kind of celebration cake. This could be an anniversary cake for that matter. It could be anything, any type of celebration cake. Happy retirement cake. Cheers to the weekend cake. We don't need a reason to make a cake around here. Look at that. Now we gotta cut it. So I'm gonna cut it right here. Look at that. Oh boy. I'm so excited. And that's our cake. That is our white lily cake. Oh, I'm so excited. Look at that. How pretty is that? How pretty is that? Perfect white cake. All right.